you want to see how the magic gets made. In this video, I'm going to go behind the scenes and show you how I make my YouTube videos, how I make my content, how I create all this shit that I put out in the world. You'll see my process and hopefully get some tips that will help you in your own marketing journey. Let's go. Welcome back to Branding for Badasses. I'm Liz Marie, Brand Strategist Creative Director, and I'm here to empower women and BIPOC-owned businesses to level up their brands and make more money. Pretty simple. So first, let's start with why I'm doing video in the first place. So I'm gonna give you a little behind the scenes of my own video and content marketing process. I actually started doing content marketing focused on blogs as like my pillar content, and I just found that it was really hard for me. I am a good writer and I am a perfectionist of a writer, so creating blog posts from scratch just was painstaking. I was spending so much time on it. Every Sunday night, I would be like spending all my lovely weekend hours trying to finish up this long blog post, and it just wasn't working out for me. So I stopped doing that completely for a while, which also wasn't great because I wasn't creating any hero content, any pillar content that was gonna serve me for the long term. I've always been really comfortable public speaking, really comfortable on video. I don't have that kind of perfectionism around it. So I finally just decided, how about I start there? I didn't necessarily set out to like be a YouTube star, which I am not, but I really just thought video makes the most sense for me. It's the easiest for me to create, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. So all of my content starts on video and then gets translated into blogs and social posts and all of the other moving parts. I have figured out a bunch of things along the way that work for me. You have to figure out what works for you, but maybe some of these things will help you. So number one, I research topics, and I do this in a bunch of different ways. First is just paying attention to the questions that I get asked all the time. And there are a lot of those. Most people don't have a very good understanding of what branding is or why they need it. So I have a lot of material to work with, and it is pretty easy to come up with ideas in that way. But then I also cross-reference that with what are people actually searching for. So I didn't used to pay so much attention to SEO, and it was probably to my detriment. So now almost all of my topics are aligned with something that people are actually seeking out because I'm putting a lot of energy into creating this content. So I want it to be something that's going to serve my business long term. So I use Ubersuggest. It is a semi-free tool. They have a free tier to research keywords and figure out what people are looking for when it comes to branding. I also use TubeBuddy on YouTube to get some guidance on my YouTube keywords. And then finally, I look at what other people that I admire or that are in my space are creating and see what are their most popular videos, what are the topics that they're talking about that are getting the most engagement. And I definitely don't copy their content, but it gives me ideas for topics to delve into to put my own spin on. Number two, I outline my content. So I don't write a script, as I'm sure you can tell, but I work from a rough outline. I identify all of the key points, and I borrowed this process from Ashlyn Carter, who's an awesome YouTuber and copywriter. I really binged all of her content, and she shared an outline that identifies your key objectives for why you're creating this content. How is it relevant to your strategy as a business? What do you want people to know? And so some of those upfront questions are really helpful when I'm digging into a topic to make sure it's a good fit. Then I start mapping out the intro or the hook. What's the key message I want you guys to learn? What are the subtopics or mini blogs within the video that I want to focus on? So usually that's like a step-by-step or 3 ways, something that's a really digestible structure because it's easy to follow. And then what are my key points and a call to action. I don't always have a call to action driving to some downloadable resource, but I try to because I want to give you guys a lot of helpful tools along the way. I have gone back and forth on how detailed I make this outline, and this is just going to be a personal preference. I find that when I make it way too detailed and don't leave room for my own natural spontaneity, I find it a lot harder and I get a lot wordier. It's a lot harder for me to film. So I tend to keep it just to some really light bullet points, and then I just talk about it naturally. That might not work for everyone, but it's what works for me. Number 3, the setup. I am not one of those content creators with this gorgeous home or studio or office that is perfectly Instagram or YouTube ready. I live in a pretty small apartment that is crammed to the gills with all of our stuff, so I have to make it work. I'll give you a sneak peek here, but I basically bought some pretty cheap film equipment off of Amazon, some lights, a backdrop. A few people gave me ring lights as gifts, which was pretty cool. So I have a little lighting setup. I learned a little bit about lighting, the basics, on some past jobs because we did a lot of film shoots, and I just filmed this all with my phone. I got a lav mic that you can see right here, and I've just kind of figured out how to use my small amount of space and my pretty decent amount of natural light in my apartment to make it look good enough. It takes me about an hour to set everything up and test it, make sure the light looks good, do my makeup. I don't look like this every day, and just make sure that I'm good to go. Always testing the audio, always testing the lighting, making sure that I clean the lens on my camera before I start, putting my phone on Do Not Disturb, and making sure that I'm shooting in 4K or whatever resolution that I want to make sure I get the highest quality video. Number 4, then I start filming, and I usually do 1, maybe 2 takes of each video. I certainly start and stop a lot. Thank God for jump cuts, and I'm hopefully gonna have fewer of those as time goes on and I get more comfortable in front of the camera. But I just kind of talk about the points. I try not to go on too long. I'm getting better at that. And I try to treat it like I'm just talking to one of my friends out there. The first few videos I recorded were definitely much longer. I'm still figuring out about how long in outline space it equates to time-wise in a video, but the pre-recorded raw files are usually about 50 to 75% longer than the final product for me, because I'll stop and start, I'll mess up sometimes, I might try a few different ways to say things, and I'll just cut all that crap out. I also batch record videos because it takes a little while to set up, and it gives me a lot of peace of mind to just have them done. So the first few times I would do 4 videos at a time. This time I'm doing 8. So we'll see how this goes. I really just swap out my shirt, sometimes my jewelry, sometimes I change my makeup look, you know, just to keep the illusion alive, but usually I'm filming a bunch of videos in one day. Number 5, I send it off to my team. So I am a solopreneur, I don't have employees, but I have recently started working with a few contractors who have really helped me step my game up. So first I have a video editor named Sydney Converse Studios. Shout out to Sydney. She is just fucking awesome. And I really couldn't do this without her. I've tried to edit a few of my videos myself. I just don't have the patience, and she's super creative. So I send off the raw files to her, and thank God for her. She knows exactly what I want. I don't really have to give her a lot of instruction. She'll send me back a draft, and maybe I'll give her a few tweaks, but usually not too much. Usually it's a pretty perfect cut right on the first take. I also create a transcript from the audio file of my videos, and I use rev.com. It's a pretty affordable automated transcription service. I upload the transcript to my Google Drive, which is where I organize everything. I'll give you a little peek of how I have that set up. Again, shout out to Ashlyn Carter. I kind of learned from her file structure system of how to keep everything really organized. And I upload the transcript there, and then I have a lovely writer, Bree, who creates a blog post or an article from the transcript. So using my same tone of voice and words and the same ideas, but structuring it for a blog and incorporating some of the SEO keywords and a little more polish into it. So I use ClickUp as a project management system to keep all of my ideas and themes organized and kind of all the moving parts, but most of the actual stuff is going down in my Google Drive. That's where all the files go. Everyone in my little team has access to that, and at this point it's a pretty well-oiled machine. We don't have to have a lot of communication back and forth. Everyone knows what they're supposed to do. I get my video drafts on Wednesday, I get the blog posts on Friday. Everything works great. Number 6, I create all the social stuff. So I'm using this hero content, the video, the blog, as the starting point to repurpose for social media. And so for me, that means Instagram, it means my Facebook group, and Pinterest. And I also have a weekly newsletter that I write a little personal message. Sometimes it's a story, sometimes it's just about what I'm going through in business, and then I'll drive to the blog post and the video. I still create all of that stuff myself. Maybe it's because I'm a control freak, but also because I do branding and design and writing for clients, I feel like that stuff is a really great demonstration of my skill set, so I always want to be really close to it. So I design all my Instagram graphics and write all the captions and all that stuff. It takes a lot of time, I'm gonna be honest. Some people act like you can just knock that stuff out. That is not me. It takes me a really long time. I do that every Monday. I create all of the content. I write the YouTube description, the thumbnails, all the social posts. I write the newsletter and knock it all out on Monday, 2 weeks before it's gonna go out. So I have gotten a little bit on track and a little advanced, which is a big win for me. And then my VA, shout out to Chazelle from VA Suite. She is amazing. She schedules it all. She does a little bit more research on the hashtag side, on the keyword side. She's totally up on all the best practices for how to optimize everything for each platform. And so she handles like the actual uploading of the video and all the scheduling on different platforms for me. And then number 7, learn, adapt, repeat. I've been going pretty hard on the social side for a couple years now. It's still pretty new to the blog and the YouTube side, so I'm totally still learning. I imagine I'll watch this video a few years from now and be like, what the fuck was I doing? But that's part of the point, and fortunately this is one of the few areas of my life where I'm not a perfectionist. I can just kind of let it go and be like, that's good enough. I'll make it better, or I'll learn how to do more or optimize it or make more interesting content as time goes on and figure out what people like. And so I think taking that kind of freeing, adaptive, fluid mindset of put something out there, learn, rinse, repeat is going to be really helpful. And so far it's working for me, and hopefully I will give you guys some good content that you really enjoy, that's really helpful and valuable to your businesses. So my final thoughts are, number 1, start where you're at. I know it can be really intimidating and you feel like you might need this whole studio or an amazing setup to create video. My very first videos I started creating for Instagram and even for YouTube were shot with no lights, no anything, outside on my patio with my phone. And I had terrible audio, like they were not good. There might be still a few on my channel, but the content was good. And that gave me the confidence to just keep going and starting to figure things out. And I'm sure I will continue to upgrade as time goes on, but don't let not having the right setup prevent you from getting started. Second, final thought is to figure out what works for you. This system works for me, but it took a lot of time and energy and frustration to figure out what would work for me, what would feel right. So whether that was video versus written content, the rhythm of it, creating the actual system and processes with my team, it took so much longer than I thought. And for a while I felt ashamed or like embarrassed by how long it was taking me to get something that seemed so simple up and running. Like, oh my gosh, I should have been done with this months ago. And now that I'm in it, all that time was worthwhile. So take the time to figure out what you like, what works for you, and you don't have to be committed to something. If you try it and you find that it's weighing you down or it's not as fun or interesting as you thought, fuck it, you just switch it up. Number 3, have fun with it. This has been the best part of doing videos that I didn't anticipate. I never thought I would be a video type of person, but it's been really fun and a whole different type of creative challenge, and helped me think more creatively about content and what would be engaging for people, especially on the business side, like how to present business content in a fun and interesting way. So just have fun with it. Don't take it so seriously. This is supposed to be a good time. And keep learning. As I mentioned, you're gonna figure out a whole bunch of different ways to do things differently, better. The platforms are gonna change, your audience is gonna change, the world is changing. Just keep learning, just keep trying, and you'll figure it out. And finally, done is better than perfect. I know that a lot of people struggle with perfectionism, struggle with how they look on camera, struggle with the way they word things if they fuck up. I try to include a lot of that stuff in my videos because I am totally human and I fuck up all the time. And I actually like that kind of raw stuff and seeing that from people. Just remember, perfection doesn't exist, first of all, and it's better to start imperfectly and learn as you go than to wait and do nothing because it's not perfect. I know it's easier said than done, but sometimes you just need to hear it one more time. I hope this has given you some helpful insight into how I create my content, and maybe you've learned a few things that you can use and implement in your own content marketing strategy. And if you'd like, you can download my outline template that I use to map out all of my videos and blog posts. Again, shout out to Ashlyn Carter. Some of her influence is in there, and hopefully that will help you get started mapping out your own content. Drop a comment and let me know what you think, if this was helpful, or link to some of your own content, and I would love to check it out. Until next time, stay badass. All right, y'all, if you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff down there, and check me out at LizMarieStrategy or LizMarieStrategy.com.